just speak on the game from Sunday night. Obviously, disappointing. Loss. I mean, I thought we put a lot into it, but got to give credit to the Lions. They played really well. They made more plays than we did. Executed a little bit better than we did. My message to our guys yesterday, we brought them in, was just that, I think there's always valuable lessons learned in defeat. And we got to turn the page quickly and try to apply those lessons to next Monday night. So that was the message. We made some corrections, talked about a few things. But, yeah, we got to turn the page quickly. Biggest game of the year. Next Monday night against a very good Rams team. Just started watching them this morning. So, certainly explosive, very good players, good run game, good schematics. Sean does a great job from that standpoint. Big challenge. I think, we just got to go through our process like we do every week. Good meeting, good walkthrough, good practice. String good days together, and then that'll give us an opportunity to put our best foot forward next Monday night.
Brian, how do you think the Rams have grown since the last time you saw them?
I think, when we saw him, it was really the first game Puka was back. He's a big part of their offense and what they do. Outstanding player, hands, physical, contested catches, run after. They do a great job of, finding ways, different ways to get him the football, screens, obviously just, your pure route running. But they get him the ball in a myriad of ways. Good run game. They do a lot of really good things, and Stafford's playing well.
How much of Puka coming back that day was expected? How much did you guys?
When a guy's not in, he comes off of the IR, short week. Quite honestly, we were a little bit surprised that he was out there, that he was brought up, and there was a night game on a Thursday, so we found out, let's call it 4 hours before the game. There was a little bit of, I don't want to say the word scrambling, but hey, we had seen a little bit of him from the previous year, but not much, this year, so there was a little bit of scrambling he was involved early. Obviously we know he's going to be out there now, this time out. We'll do a better job, or I'll do a better job of making sure our guys are prepared from that standpoint.
Scrambling in that situation, what can you do?
We talk about the player, we talk about, how they use them. We start talking matchups, who would go here, who would go there. There's not a lot you can do in that type of situation. But we'll be in a better place this time out.
Do they look markedly different?
They're a very different team with Puka out there. Very different. He brings an element in both the run and the pass game that's, that's why he's the player that he is. He opens things up for other players, Cooper Kupp being, one certainly. And it's really two number ones that you're dealing with.
Brian, just to go back to this past weekend, how did you feel like you guys performed from a run-stopping perspective against a guy that is obviously as explosive as?
I think, there were, a lot of positive things, positive moments, I would say, in the game. But against a player like that, it only takes 1, 2, 3 plays, And if everybody's not in their gap, if everyone's not, we don't have the edge sets, we don't have the, the cutback players where they're supposed to be, against a player like that, it only takes, a handful of plays, and, those become the plays in the game that are significant. That was a lot of the message yesterday. In these types of games, trust is a big part of it. Handling your responsibility is a big part of it. And, we can't have, situations where one guy's out of his gap, or somebody's uncertain that guy's going to be in his gap, so he takes that gap, and then, it kind of snowballs into some things like that. And against a good player and a good team, those really become the differences in big games.
Ryan, with your experience as a head coach and the interviews, the requests coming in, how does that help you kind of balance these two things now as you prepare for the Rams and then deal with the attention you're getting?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, anytime you're mentioned in, these kind of head coaching conversations or receiving requests or, it's an honor, certainly that. Definitely don't take that lightly. And look, I look forward to, having those conversations, talking to people about my football journey, my leadership journey. But I also kind of pride myself in being able to compartmentalize and really lock in on the things that or prioritize, the different things that are happening, in my life. And I think everyone in this kind of profession does the same thing because we all have a lot of things going on. And this is part of that. I can tell you this, I'm certainly locked in on the Rams and, all the things that they do. And, for me, it's the players that are number one. And, I'm always going to work and do things with their interests first. So, yeah, I mean, it's, certainly an honor, but I'll be, my number one priority is, getting this team ready or getting this defense ready to play against the Rams.
Flo, will you take all the requests, take all the interviews that are requested, or will you kind of go request by request on that in terms of, obviously, the issue that was brought up in the lawsuit in terms of sham interviews and those sort of things? Like, will you take that into account on the front end, or will you take all the interview requests?
I plan on taking them all.
Okay.
I plan on, sitting down and having conversations with, any team that's interested in talking to me about that position. Like I said, I look forward to talking to people about, my football journey and, yeah, when that time comes, I'll do that. But again, I don't think I'm even allowed to talk to anyone until next week. So really, the focus is kind of the Rams.
With the compartmentalizing of it all, like, do you feel the need to address it with players at all, or is that completely separate?
I think those conversations happen. They just kind of organically happen. Look, I got great relationships with with the guys in the group, so it's not like anything's off limits. If you knew this group, you'd know that nothing's off limits. So, yeah, I mean, I've already had some conversations with a few guys about, whether it's a congratulations or, what my mindset is. So yeah, nothing's off limits. I'm happy to talk to any of those guys about it. I think, more than anything, I just feel a lot of support from the guys, really, throughout the entire building. So yeah, I mean that part of it is, pretty easy for me. I don't mind talking about it or addressing the situation. But I always started off with, I'll be ready or we'll be ready, or I'll do everything I can to make sure we're all ready to play this game next Monday night.
Is the Patriots job of interest to you?
I mean, look, we're talking about going home or, where it all started. So, I think that's a place that's got definitely a special place, place in my, when I talk about my football journey, that's where it started. So I would say yes. But, at the same time, that's not up to me as to whether or not, they would want to talk to me or anything like that. So that's kind of my thought on that.
How do you think working with this year's group of guys that you're working with has helped you grow as a leader and maybe prepared you more for another head coaching job?
I think this year's group is, I think this has been one of the most, rewarding, 2 years, I would say, for me. It's part of kind of this, I don't know, football journey that I'm on. It's been, it's a great group. It's a group that really came together quickly. They formed bonds quickly. we have a good time, but we also work very hard too. It's a great, it's a great staff. I'll tell you that right now. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people think that this is, all kind of my thoughts, but we have a great staff, whether it's Saravo, whether it's Durante, Pet, I've said this before, I think there's, future coordinators and head coaches in that defensive staff room for sure. Hopefully those guys get some opportunities here as well, to interview and, showcase their acumen and their abilities as coaches. But yeah, it's been as far as growth and, trying new things, because we've done some, different things and, defensively over the last 2 years. And but more than anything, I think it's just, guys kind of coming together and really, fighting for one another, trusting one another, and then, meeting the right way, practicing the right way, walking through the right way, and then giving themselves a chance to perform at a high level on Sundays or Mondays like this week.
As you meet with some of these teams, will you be looking for anything specifically in those conversations?
I think there's always, in that setting, it's, is there a connection? Is the vibe? Is the energy? Something you're interested in. I think that goes both ways. I think, and it's no different to me than any other interview setting in any other industry. I think it's, is the vibe, is the energy, is the connection, is it something that you think will be an environment that you can forecast and predict that'll be a winning environment. I'm big. I've talked about visions, with you guys quite a bit, as far as a defensive vision. In that setting, it's, kind of an organizational vision, a team vision, really across the board. And there's a lot of people involved in that. And there's a synergy you have to have. I'm kind of looking for that type of synergy also.
When you talk about your leadership journey and your coaching journey, what kinds of things do you look forward to sharing with teams about those areas?
I was in one place for a long time. Then I was in Miami. And then really, I would say it's more about the last 3 years, one with Coach T, and these last 2 years here with KO. When I was really looking to work with, when I left Pittsburgh, I was looking to work with, someone with an offensive background. So I was fortunate to come here with KO, who's one of the best in the business, and kind of watch how, he, schedules, how he works with the quarterback, how he, that I could bounce questions off him, and kind of pick his brain from an offensive standpoint, from his standpoint, from how he sees, how he views offense. And we do the same thing. He does the same thing with me. So it's been a great kind of marriage, I would say. And I don't want to leave without saying that it's been fantastic here in Minnesota. It would have to be the right situation for me to leave. For me, myself, and my family, but I would say that's part of that growth, kind of seeing different ways to do it, taking all that information in, and tweaking some things, from my standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, and then applying it and seeing if it works. And I think I've liked what I've seen so far, as far as applying some of those things and what it's looked like, specifically this year.
Brian, when Harrison Smith came back, he cited working with you as one of the reasons that he wanted to continue playing. I guess, how has your relationship over these 2 years grown with him, and what has that meant to you as a coach?
I think, I smile when I think about Harrison, because, we're always kind of going back and forth with ideas. I think he thinks I'm a little nutty as far as, pushing the limits and, but I think he enjoys it too. I think it's been an opportunity for him to learn and grow, and I put a lot on him as far as, you know, if we're going to be able to get into you know, that defense, like, I'm not going to be able to do it. You're going to have to do it on the field, because I don't know what formation the offense is going to come out in. You know, he's the one that sees it, and he's the one that can get us into a different call. So giving him that freedom, that autonomy, I think that's, you know, I think he feels trust from me to him. That might be part of it as well. But I mean, I love coaching him. I'll tell you that right now. He's allowed me to be more creative and attempt to do some things, because they don't all work. I'll tell you that right now. Attempt to do some things because of his acumen, because of his leadership, because I think, you know, he can get us into, you know, some certain things that will help us. So yeah, it's been great coaching him.
What makes Stafford tough to blitz against?
I mean, he gets the ball out quickly. I mean, he sees it. They do a good job of trying to, you know, move some pieces to kind of undress the defense a little bit, which, to my point about Harrison, you know, he allows us to, you know, they can address it, then he checks it, then they check it, and then, you know, there's the 40-second clock, and there's a lot going on there, and but they do a nice job, and he's obviously, you know, done it for a long time at a high level. He's got good receivers; they get open, so he does a good job of recognizing the defense, you know, and then, you know, he can you know, spit the ball out, you know, pretty quickly and get it to the right guys.
Brian, on the topic of this season, I want to ask you about Khyree Jackson. Just, you'd mentioned in July how that had affected you. How did you internalize that this season as the leader, and then what did you see from the team in terms of just them honoring him kind of as they go about their?
You know, I think, you know, I when that all happened and I got a chance to speak to the group, you know, the message was we're going to honor him with, you know, the way we play, which was physical, because he was a physical player, and disciplined and fast. And, you know, the one thing that, you know, I mentioned to those guys then that, you know, I definitely came to fruition was, you know, he was a guy who liked to have a good time, liked to have fun playing the game. I think I used the word swaggy, which I don't normally use at that time, and I think we were able to do that too. But you know, that was a tough loss. You know, definitely early. I think that was one of those things that kind of brought the group together early. You know, in a short period of time, he had a major impact on a lot of people. And yeah, we talked about, you know, honoring him. The best way to do that was through a play style that reflected, you know, the play style we expected or were going to see from him. And hopefully we've done that. I think I think he's watching us, and you know, he's appreciative of the fact that we're having a good time and playing that way. All right, guys. Thank you.